Welcome into this week's edition of the Arkansas Broadband Leaders Network, or ABLN. We appreciate everyone for joining us. We had these calls every week during the first phase of the challenge process, as that was heavy involvement by our grassroots partners. And so we had meetings every week. We have now returned back to our every other week schedule for ABLN, so we thank you for joining us. We thought it would be very interesting this week to give you insight into how we approach what we call our infrastructure roundtable. So every Friday morning at 8:30 a.m., much like with this group, every Friday morning at 8:30 a.m. we have what we call our infrastructure roundtable. So we get all of our internet service providers from around the state and have a call with them every Friday morning to give them the latest updates, what's going on, both in BEAD and all of our other projects and programs. So we wanted to give you a sneak peek into what we do with them. So the slide deck you're going to see today is what we actually presented to our ISPs this morning at 8:30. We've added a little bit of extra information for you, specific for you, that you'll see in red as we talk through it, but we thought it'd be very interesting for you today to see how we approach our meetings with our internet service providers each week. Let's just see what the slide deck look like with them, and update on some other things, and also allow you to ask questions like normal. So we'll go ahead and get into it this morning. As always, so much like you guys, we always have updates and discussion each week. So what we did this morning, we categorized our updates based on program. So we gave them updates on the BEAD program this morning, what's called our IP Volume 2, or Initial Proposal Volume 2. As a reminder for folks, that's how the state is describing how it's going to run the infrastructure grant program with the $1 billion in BEAD. And for context to this, right now it's going back and forth between the state of Arkansas and NTIA. Because NTIA, under the U.S. Department of Commerce, is the approving agency for the BEAD program. And so it's going back and forth between Arkansas and NTIA on clarifying some things, tweaking some things, making sure that what we're proposing fits in with the guidance and regulations of the program, and those types of things. And so it's going back and forth. So what we showed our providers this morning was where NTIA said, hey, on this round of curing things, what we would like for you to tweak or give us additional clarification on and what that looks like. So there were 3 different categories or topics that we had to reply back to NTIA this week on. Kind of technical stuff. It relates to how we're going to run infrastructure grants in the program later this year. In short, in this first one, NTIA wanted more information about what we're calling buy it now bids. So when applications come in from our internet service providers for all the locations around the state, there are going to be some areas where there's only one application, right, from one provider. There's going to be other applications that come in for different areas where there's multiple applications for the same area. And so kind of how we're differentiating those and what that looks like. And so we had to provide some clarification about sort of those kind of scoring matrix and how we do that. So there were a couple of technical kind of things that we talked through with our providers this morning. I think this is interesting to note from an ABLN perspective. The BEAD program allows that any project from an infrastructure standpoint that we fund, the providers have the option to include up to 20% of their locations that they would go and get in this program to actually already be served, okay? What does that mean? That means that if you have a project of, let's say it's 100 homes, okay? At least 80 of those homes have to be red or blue dots on the map. So they have to be either unserved or underserved, okay? If a provider wants in the application, you can have 20 locations of those 100 that are actually served, be part of the project, and that's perfectly legal in this program. So to recap, in any 100 locations that are going to be part of BEAD, at least 80 of them have to be red or blue dots, unserved or underserved, and 20 of them could be what we would have referred to before as the white dots or gray dots, served locations, okay? So just wanted to update you on that this morning. This is also impactful for our grassroots folks and our county broadband committees and all of our other stakeholders. Essentially, there's been new guidance that's been put out by U.S. Commerce and NTIA. This whole time, the whole country felt as though the state had to run its infrastructure grant round and what we're calling our non-deployment grant round at the same time, because we've only been given 1 year to do this. U.S. Commerce NTI has changed their guidance on this, and what Arkansas is going to do moving forward in the program is we are going to run our infrastructure round first by itself, figure out how much money we have left over, and then run our non-deployment after that. Okay, so we're not going to do them at the same time anymore. We're going to separate them out and do infrastructure first, and then secondly, do non-deployment after we figure out how much money's left. And that was an update that we gave our internet service providers this morning too. And once we get through this, we'll go through questions and raise hands and all that. Okay, so update on the mapping challenge process that's still ongoing. Okay, the second phase, it's also called the rebuttal phase. That phase of the mapping challenge process finished on Tuesday of this week. We entered the third phase, the adjudication phase, on Wednesday at 12 noon. This is the last of 3 phases. This is a 30-day phase that technically goes through Friday, July 5th at 12. But our office anticipates that we would wrap this phase up well in advance of that. So we're targeting June 28th to be done with this phase, about 3 weeks from today, to be done. What does this mean? Well, in the first challenge phase that all of you were so great in and worked very hard at, all of the challenges came into the state. Okay? The second phase, called the rebuttal phase, is when our ISPs or internet service providers have the opportunity to provide rebuttal evidence. Okay, so to the challenge that came in if they wanted to. So that phase wrapped up for them, and now our team has to go back and where we have a challenge that came in and a rebuttal from a provider, our team now has to go back and adjudicate that and figure out kind of which one met all the evidence, makes the most sense, and make a decision when we have 2 competing, a challenge and a rebuttal. Okay, and that's what this phase is about. That'll conclude, and then what happens is that the state is going to have to get with NTIA and do what's called a true-up process. Okay, this is where we take in new data that may have occurred recently. So if there are other, for example, there's other grant programs that are funding broadband build-out across the state and across the country. Some internet service providers have defaulted in those programs or given back locations. If we're aware of that, during the true-up process, we can factor that in and make our map more correct. Okay, so it's a way to continue to tweak and refine the map and make it more correct before we have to eventually basically draw a line in the sand and freeze it and move forward. Okay. That process so far has taken a very long time. Louisiana is now in their 5th month of working through that true-up process with NTIA. We do not expect a similar delay of that length. We have a team, actually a very good team, that's working with us on this issue. We think we've learned quite a bit from some of the early states and their elongated delays and what kind of caused that. So we don't think it'll take as long as some states have seen. And then finally, once it's done, we submit it off to NTIA and get approval of all of the red and blue dots that'll be eligible in the BEAD program. We publish that list and get started with infrastructure and opening the grant round. Okay. So updates on our digital skills and opportunity plan. As we all know, the very long plan in excess of 100 pages was accepted by NTIA earlier this year. So then we had to technically go and apply to receive our funding to start help executing on that plan. We had to put in our documentation last week, which we did, and we're now going to enter a curing process with NTIA like we've been doing on our Volume 1 and Volume 2 documents. Maybe perhaps some new information for some folks. So again, everything you're seeing today that was in black is something that we shared with our ISPs this morning. Things in red are new information specifically for you guys. And so on this, the Digital Skills and Opportunity Plan, the federal government is breaking up how we're going to receive the money over 3 years. So we're not going to get it all at once. It's going to be broken up over year 1, year 2, year 3. It's about a $17 million allocation for us. Year 1, we should get about $10 million, and then $3.5 million year 2 and $3.5 million year 3. It's sort of broken up in that manner. Just to remind everyone, the main focus of the Digital Skills and Opportunity Plan makes sense. Digital skills training is a core component of that plan, along with device programs that are tied to folks participating in the digital skills training. And there are some other interesting, kind of not as prominent, but still important programs that are in the Digital Skills and Opportunity Plan, 2 examples of which are getting a pilot program off the ground where we work on doing some free Wi-Fi within multiple dwelling units for folks, and also a Wi-Fi program around community anchor institutions and public spaces. So those are 2 additional programs. While not as prominent as digital skills training and device programs, are also very important, and we look forward to working through that in this plan. We talk about a lot of stuff with our ISPs each week. We have multiple grant programs that are going on. One of them is CPF, or Capital Projects Fund, infrastructure grants that we awarded at the end of 22, beginning of 23. We're working through expenses and how those get reimbursed by U.S. Treasury. Specific to that program, I have been having very spirited conversations and back and forth discussions with U.S. Treasury. We had one this morning before this call with you guys, talking about how labor-related expenses are factored into our projects, how they can get reimbursed, and that all depends upon the timeline of when labor-related expenses were incurred for different projects. And this is just an example of some of the back and forth and conversation we have with our ISPs. Sometimes it can get really hyper-technical, but I just wanted to give you some insight into kind of the things that we talk about with our providers each week. We also had an update on stakeholder engagement. We let them know that our ABLN calls are back on our regular schedule, and we let them know there was a meeting today at 10. They're always invited to come and attend this with our stakeholder group. We talked about the conference, so if this is new information for anyone, we are hosting what we're calling our Arkansas BEAD Digital Opportunity Conference in a couple of weeks. So on Tuesday, June 25th, in Hot Springs at the Oaklawn Racing Casino Resort. For those that haven't been to the website, it's arkansasbeadconference.com. Next week, we're going to start rolling out and announcing our finalized panels and the participants and what that looks like. As of yesterday, we have 200 registrants, and this could go higher. We expect it will. So it's going to be a really, really good conference. We listed out sort of not individual folks or entities, but the types of folks that have registered for this event so far. Not only our ISPs, but manufacturing suppliers, planning districts around the state, nonprofits, federal, state, county, local government has registered for this, investment funds, healthcare, higher ed, the governor's office, and so forth, and you see the list. So it's going to be a really, really good group. We've casted a very wide net on this thing, and we're really excited about the conference. So if you haven't registered, please do. There's going to be some really good information. Again, it's focused on BEAD. The BEAD program, the first half of the day is going to be dedicated to infrastructure and what that looks like. The second half of the day dedicated to non-deployment opportunities and what that looks like. So please register for the conference. Okay, we are adding in an update from Cam. Each time we have a meeting now, he's our digital opportunity manager on our team, does a great job for us. And Cam, we'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Glenn. Good morning, everyone. I saw some interesting webinar on that was promoted by NTIA recently around digital opportunity for smaller rural communities. It's happening on Friday, June 25th. I'll put it in the chat later on. But I think it's pertinent, especially for our smaller communities, to join or be a recap video of it, because being on the road, we've heard a lot of things around not truly understanding the some of the opportunity associated with high-speed internet. And so hopefully in that webinar they can start seeing tangible examples and getting their minds around the priorities for the next phase of BEAD and also digital equity capacity program. I'll share that in the chat later on. Additionally, I had a graphic that I'll also share later around our broadband county committees. We have 54 as of right now, and so we're looking to get to 75. And so I'll release that later on, and you can see where we need more support at, and some leaders to step up and step out at. But that's all for me today. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Cam. Appreciate it. So on our infrastructure roundtables, we typically have Lane, who's our deputy director on our team, will provide a specific update for our ISPs. And on these calls, now we're going to have Cam do a specific update for our grassroots stakeholders in the ABLN moving forward. Typically, with our ISPs in the morning, we also have updates from our partners that help us on the infrastructure side. So we'll have representatives from Michael Baker International. For some folks who may kind of know, they are our new sort of UAMS subcontractor. Okay, so in the past, UAMS was a subcontractor for us that helped program manage the infrastructure side. We went through an RFP process kind of late last year, and through that procurement process, procured a new vendor for us to help us on the infrastructure program side. And so Michael Baker is that company, and they always join us on those calls and provide updates for our ISPs. We also provide an update from NTIA for those folks. And I think Philip is actually with us this morning. And so I'm going to turn it over to Philip for a second to provide updates from NTIA. He was. Might have stepped away. But typically, Philip also will provide updates from NTIA for our ISPs, and we're going to do it for you when he's available. He did recently just move down to the farm in Hempstead County, and so I think he's using a hotspot. Is that right, Philip? No.
Hey, Glenn. Sorry, yeah.
There you are. Yeah.
Having some internet issues. Yeah. Can you all hear me? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Good. Good. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. So as Glenn mentioned, I just moved down to a farm. Now I'm in Blevins, which is in Hempstead County, just outside of Hope, and so yeah. So can adjust it to that, but of course I'm still available to travel around the state and meet with stakeholders. Another news for me is I will also be taking over Oklahoma as the federal program officer. Arkansas is still #1 in my heart. Don't worry, everybody. But they've asked me to take on Oklahoma as my colleague over there moved to another role within NTIA. So if you have any family or friends in Oklahoma that are involved in the broadband world like y'all are, please feel free to connect me with them. I'm happy to hit the ground running in Oklahoma and talk to people and show them how Arkansas is doing things right, and then I need to take that over to Oklahoma and show them how it's done. And but yeah, as Glenn mentioned, Volume 2 is now with NTIA, so we're working on that, and I'm excited about the BEAD conference. I'll have some colleagues from NTIA coming to Arkansas, so I know that everyone will give them a warm welcome. And but other than that, there's nothing new on my end, and as always, I'm available if anybody wants to reach out. Thanks, Glenn.
All right, thank you, Philip. Appreciate that. Let's see. All right, so the next ABLN meeting will be in 2 weeks, Friday, June 21st, which actually be right before the conference that next Tuesday on the 25th. I did want to show you before we go to discussion, let me bring up the conference website. I'll bring it over here. Again, we mentioned it earlier, so arkansasbeatconference.com is the current, the conference website. And although we're rolling out the finalized panel announcements next week, those that have been confirmed so far as speaking at the conference, we have photos on the website for those folks that have confirmed to speak. And so we continue to build that out over the next week or so. So feel free to go to the website not only to register, but you can check out the agenda and again, registration information and hotels that are in the area in case you need to spend the night. So I just want to show you that as well. Let me get this. All right, at that point, I know it was a lot, kind of all within 20 minutes, but we'll open up the floor for questions and discussion. Again, it can cover anything from the conference to the challenge process to how we're looking at BEAD moving forward. Anything you want to talk about, we can talk about it. And we'll go to the chat box first. So either if you want to put something in the chat box, we can discuss it, or if you want to raise your hand and chat that way, we can do that too. So let's see. All right, Philip, you got some kudos from Alicia. She is originally an Oklahoma City girl, so applauding your efforts in Oklahoma now. Cam put the link for the webinar in a couple of weeks about opportunities in rural communities as it relates to digital opportunity. So the link is there for you. We will also put that link in the communication that comes out via email after these calls, so you'll receive that. Let's see. We have some prompts for assistance for Philip if he needs it from University of Arkansas Hope Texarkana. I'll let Philip know that if he needs any help, they're available. And so Gary's asking in the chat box, what is the Trump conference? Great question, Gary. It's a free conference. We're not charging anybody for this thing. You know, we're looking at it. We're also not doing sponsorship, so there's not going to be a vendor floor. You're not going to be barraged by vendors or people trying to sell you things or any of that. This is a strictly an informational, learning, networking conference that we think is going to be really good. There's no charge. It's free of charge for folks. It's a great question, Gary.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. Cam has put up the new map showing in the chat box. He's got the new map up that we're keeping updating around the counties that have submitted official county broadband committee lists to our office, and so that's exciting. We've hovered kind of in that 45, 50 range for a while. We're now at 54, so that's really exciting, but we're getting, I've said it for a year and a half now, we're getting all 75, and we're going to do that. Let's see, let me go to the folks and see if we have any hands. Hunter, good morning.
Good morning, Glenn and team.
Hey.
Thank you for the call. This is great information. I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on the committees. Cam mentioned the number of committees, which is great. What is the ongoing information that's going to the committees? I know there's great information out there, but if you could elaborate on that a little bit. I've gotten some questions from some county folks and would love to be able to know a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I figured that was something that, you know, maybe folks may ask about. So, yeah, to date, we're up at 54 now, and I think a large question is like, you know, what's next? What are we doing? What's the point? It's a great question. So one, all of the committees should be invited. They should receive the invites to this every bi-weekly meeting. So I know we've got 30, how many are people on the call today? All the committee members are always invited to these calls every 2 weeks. So we hope that they engage as far as information sharing. Everyone that's on a county broadband committee should have invites to this call every 2 weeks. They should be getting every email that we send out as an office, all the news alerts, all the weekly updates as far as information sharing. What is next? We are using the conference on June 25th to sort of kickstart the next wave of visits across the state. We were able to fit in about 20-ish county visits kind of before and during the challenge process to kind of help spread the word on the challenge process and what needed to happen there. Again, we're going to use the conference as sort of a lifting off point to do all 75 again. And it's really going to come down to sort of two paths of action for our county committees. One is focused on the infrastructure side for BEAD. The second is non-deployment. So when we go to the counties again and talk to the county committees about infrastructure, what are we doing? What does that mean? We are hoping to, we intend to provide a list of, so in each county, we're going to provide that particular county committee with a listing of the providers that are in that county, and also a listing of the providers that are in every county that surround that county or touch that county. Okay, and part of our ask of the county committee there is to start reaching out to the providers that are in your county and to the providers that are right around your county to help drive interest in the BEAD program and having more applications in your county. Okay, we have seen not only in Arkansas but around the country that more applications tend to happen from ISPs when they feel like folks are interested in them, when they feel like there's support and interest of having, you know, as much competition as possible for their unserved and underserved locations, right? So one of the asks for on the infrastructure side for our committees is to start talking to the ISPs in and around your county, have them come in, present to you what are their plans, are they interested in BEAD, are they going to apply, do they not want to apply? If they don't want to apply, how could we maybe work to get them to apply? So sort of asking those kinds of questions and driving interest. The second part on the infrastructure side is there are, I think, 2.5 points out of our 100-point application scoring process that are based around letters of support for ISPs. And so there are different levels of elected officials who can provide letters of support for applicants in the BEAD program. So part of the second ask is that the county committee help to work to make sure that those elected officials are engaged in the process and are working to figure out who they maybe want to have a letter of support for in their county. So it's not restricted to just one. Folks can provide no letters of support if they want to, who are eligible for it. They can support more than one. So it's up to them how many letters of support they want to have in the process, and that's going to be the two asks that we'll have for folks at the county committee level specific to infrastructure. The second piece is going to be around non-deployment. So although we probably will not start the application process on non-deployment until sometime next year, we got to start talking about it now because we started talking about BEAD last year, right? And now we're at the execution phase on BEAD. We got to start talking more about non-deployment now for next year. And so the second ask of our county committees is to begin thinking about, we kind of mentioned it last year, was thinking about those broadband related priorities for a county or a community or a municipality that are not specifically infrastructure related, but are in some way broadband related. That's where things around healthcare and telehealth can come in. Things around education, agriculture, different things. I know we used some examples last year around, in Jonesboro, the concept around Wi-Fiing up parks and trails. In one of the towns in the south, Wi-Fiing up their downtown square. In Huntsville, we had talked about first responder communications being very shoddy there. And so different broadband related type of projects that are not strictly infrastructure, and we want to see what's important at the local level. So we're going to start to pivot the conversation around non-deployment with our county committees moving forward. Let's start thinking about those kinds of projects. And we're going to touch on this at the conference in a couple of weeks, is local folks need to start thinking about what is their priority for us. You know, if we have, look, there is a scenario, not guaranteed, you know, there's a scenario where Arkansas could have potentially a couple of $100 million left over in this process. If that's the case, what are important broadband related projects at the local level? And we need people to start thinking about that because you're going to also want to have to form partnerships in that process. So it's very likely that a county or a city or a town probably wouldn't be able to pull it off if they were the only applicant on a project. A county or community may have to partner with an ISP, right? May also have to partner with a nonprofit to help on the reporting and compliance that has to happen. So start thinking about not only the projects that you're interested in, but the partners that need to come to the table to help make it happen for you in the application process. So that's going to be our what's next for the county committees, if that's helpful. Does that make sense, Hunter? Okay. Okay. And is this our broadband intern? in your office?
Yes. Morgan Park has joined us this summer from the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville, with a focus in ag business and political science. We're thrilled to have her.
Very good. Welcome. All right. Let's go back to, let's see. Who else has the hand up? Judge Griffin, good morning. Oh, you're on mute. Hey, Jesse, you're on mute. Let's see. There should be probably in the top right, Jesse, a little microphone looking button. If you press it, then they get you off of mute.
There we go.
There you go.
All right. Hey, two questions for you. First of all, we have, well, I got one statement and then two questions. I know you haven't got to all 75 counties, and I've run down your list of people that attended this meeting today. I honestly believe if you don't get the county judges involved in this, you're going to have some issues.
Sure.
I'm on board with what we're trying to do across the state, and I know there will be some overlap from counties to counties as far as who can serve what areas. And that's a factor. That's just going to happen because back and forth. But the second part of this is we have not, or let me make an assumption, that there's not been any money granted to anybody to start this projects in Drew County, for an example. We've not let out any money because I haven't talked to any contractors. I'm gonna bring some stuff to a foreign court Monday night in support of a company that come in. But I know of no other companies in Drew County that's been awarded any contracts or have talked to me about, hey, how can I help you in the county? So if that's out there, off the first one, if something's been awarded, I'd like to know that and who they are and how they got awarded. And the second part of it is if there's somebody that wants to be awarded within the county, I'd like to sit down and talk to them and figure out what's best for us and how we share the information from county to county, especially the counties that touch me around me. I mean, it's going to be a different project from up in the northern part of the county, but our northern part of the state than it is in the southern, because we're rural. I mean, my gosh, we got people living 10, 15 miles apart in some areas, but that's my current concerns. And if I can help with any way about getting other judges involved, I'll be more than glad to do that. But I think you're missing the point if you don't get all the judges on board with this. I just think it'll make your job tremendously easier.
Sure.
Because we got a broadband committee down here, and a lot of it's just information from people that know a lot more than I do about broadband. And I sit in a room and just answer the questions and the best I know, and then go back to the experts, which are y'all and different folks around us. So I just need to know, hey, is there money been awarded within Drew County and who those awarded to? And I guess my question would be why it was awarded to them, and then who else is in the process of maybe getting awarded. And that's all I got.
Okay, quite a couple things, Jesse. Very much appreciate your comments. I think one, as far as I can recall, most, if not all, of the ABLN meetings that we've had, you've been on the calls, and we very much appreciate what you're doing in Drew County and your attendance here with us. Two, so last year, just a couple of things, because at the Rural Conference, we showed this goes to your point, at the Rural Conference, we showed one of the slides that talked about our visits last year, and also next to it was a graphic around all the counties that had submitted the county committee lists to our team. And so last year, We did hit all 75 counties. I know that I've been to at least 2 meetings in Drew with you, Judge Griffin. So we have been to all the counties, and when we did the county visits last year, all of the judges were invited to all of those meetings, and as well as our General Assembly members and mayors and so forth. So we've always, made it a point to invite our county judges to these meetings. I do take your point, though. I think we can always communicate more. I think the more that we can communicate through the sort of the county association and have them help redistribute our communications. Because sometimes, look, I know emails get deleted and people have meetings when other meetings are happening. And so nobody, not everybody can always make the meetings. And I fully understand that. But I did want to make the point we've tried very hard to make sure that our judges and other officials are always invited to everything that we do and also receive all of our communications that come out from the Department of Commerce and our office. But we can work more with other entities that can help to reinforce that communication. So that's that one. Let's see. On the awards, let me go look at Drew County real quick, just to take a glance. Just the green. Okay, so in Drew County, there have been all of the green dot locations are locations that were subject to some form of grant award. Let me look at a different internal dashboard that I have real quick to see if there's anything. Let's see. Okay. So as far as state awards,
Sir?
so as far as awards that went to Drew County, let me make sure, yeah. Awards that went to Drew County as a result of a state grant, okay? See, there's one there, one Drew A, one Drew B. Okay. So there were looks like probably 2 back in round 1. This is back in, let's see. So there was one awarded through the office back in 2020, and a second one also back in 2020. You're right. Since then, there has not been an award through the office at the state side. All of these other green dots are other federal grants for broadband infrastructure that frankly are not under our office's control. So there's other grant programs that the federal government is doing that have awarded infrastructure grants in Drew County that are not under the state's purview. But that doesn't mean, and I think we talked about this in the last meeting with you, that doesn't mean that we can't help to provide you a list of this activity. And so the providers that won the awards, which grant programs they were, and what that looks like, and get you that information. Now, frankly, it's likely that you were not notified probably of these, and that's because those federal programs, to be honest with you, they don't care, right?
Yeah.
What the local folks do. And I'll be transparent with you. I can say that it doesn't matter. They're not coordinating with the local folks on these federal grants that aren't through our office, right? So it's likely that you wouldn't know, but we'll work to help you get a list. Okay.
Yeah, and this was prior to me coming into office too. So I mean, it's a history thing that I'm looking for. So
Yes, sir.
that's fine. We're gonna get there. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Judge Griffin.
All right.
All right, let's see who else we got. All right, well, we'll give it a minute or two. And oh, hey Todd, good morning.
Good morning. Hold on, let me see if, there we go. Is there a list of what grants were awarded by the state? And is there a list separate somewhere else with what grants were awarded by the federal agencies that we would have access to?
Hey, Glenn, you're muted.
Thanks, Cam. Yeah, from a as it sits today, you're right. From a public, like a place to go click on information, from a public information perspective, I don't think there's everything in one place. You probably have to go to this federal site to get some of these grants, and then this federal site to get some of those grants, and then our site to get the state grants. So I think you make a great point. What we can do, we make a note. We'll take that burden on, and try to combine and have one basically master list and put everything together. So not only the state awards, but also those other programs. Now, just for context, there's U.S. Treasury has a program, U.S. Commerce has a program, USDA has a program, the FCC has a program, and there's, on top, and that's beyond what we're doing. So we'll work hard to try to compile a master list and have that available for public consumption. I'm going to make that note. Okay, Todd?
All right. I'm
So
also interested, is there a list of ISPs or people who have received grants that have basically backed out and have opened up the areas that they were awarded grants to?
That's something else we can try to work on for you. I don't think that there's a master list anywhere. That doesn't mean that we can't try to put something like that together. So we could, maybe tab 1 on a master Excel spreadsheet shows all the grants that have been awarded in Arkansas on their programs, both state and federal. And maybe, tab 2 is, if we can gather it, folks that have given back some of their awards. We'll try to make it a 2-for-1 on that list, okay?
Yeah. Really appreciate that.
It's a very good suggestion. I thank you, Todd. Okay. All right. Let's see. Just Todd there. Go in the chat box. Let's take a look at the chat box.
I'm sorry, real quick, Judge Griffin, I got to go to another meeting. Thank y'all.
Okay.
If you need me, call.
Thanks, Judge. Let's see. Jennifer asked, workforce development question. Is there a monthly meeting we can join about getting the right training for the employees we all need? So there were several unanswered questions at the Fiber Broadband Conference from the audience about how to get more clear leadership and to-dos with our grassroots efforts and curriculum building with more tech colleges and training partners. Jennifer, can you expand on, if you're with us still, can you expand a little bit of what you're talking about? Are you saying, like, from an ISP perspective, or are you talking about just workforce development, education development, and Arkansas as a whole?
Yeah, I think several of us in the audience were discussing where we're going to get these, 10,000 employees that need the training. So, of course, Aristotle has helped sponsor, the Saline County Climbing Initiative. We're looking literally at how are we going to install fiber? How are we going to get splicers, drillers, borers, plow teams? I realize a lot of that's falling on the contractors right now, but we would like to continue a more productive conversation with, Pulaski Tech, Metro, the statewide initiatives that help us know that we've got as a team, great curriculum, commitment to help make this happen, more discussion about these careers. So I've heard a couple of coalitions started, but kind of, stumbled a little bit. And I know Heartland presented quite an initiative, but trickling that down to actual hires and getting the folks trained is really what I'm looking for, the grassroots initiative. Does that make sense?
It does. Okay, so it sounds like specific to the provider sector. No, I think that's a really good question. I know that actually I was Stephanie Isaacs was in here the other day and talking about reconvening the providers again and working through kind of what the next phase of the workforce initiatives look like. And so I guess to your broader question, I would say be on the lookout for an invite, sort of a joint invite from our office and Office of Skills Development probably very soon to kind of reconvene and talk about how we want to approach workforce moving forward, specific to broadband. In our BEAD Volume 2 document, we've carved out $15 million of our $1 billion allocation to help support and build up the broadband workforce, to help support those 3 existing programs that are already on the ground, and help to expand that. So, but we need to know what that looks like. So again, be on the lookout for an invite to start having these conversations and help starting the plan now.
Great. That's great. And I think, some of the other broadband offices that we are a member of, AT&T has reached out to me to help. What can we do to get, more fiber training with their team? Also, how the digital literacy grants that are available, making sure obviously that those are optimized, but we've also, Amazon has fiber splicing courses, and Mississippi's inviting Amazon in on several fiber and just general project management skills, customer service skills. So I just want to make sure all of us have that opportunity. So thank you for the answer, and we really look forward to kind of coalescing the actual opportunities in, even if it was some kind of forum,
Yeah.
to make sure everybody knows where to send folks and how to send folks. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting because I think, from some of the chats that we've had, I think some of the 3 existing sites have actually had trouble getting people in class. So I'm curious to see the disconnect between, and talk through it and figure that out, like the disconnect between what appears to be a need from our providers and a lack of people getting into the classes. So we'll have to work through that, see what those barriers are, try to alleviate some of that, and then hopefully expand to other parts of the state too. So very much appreciated, Jennifer. Let's see. Akili asked, anything new on plans for digital literacy? Yeah, so the digital skills approach for the state is packaged up within our digital skills and opportunity plan. Digital skills are one of the key pillars in our digital skills and opportunity plan. Right now, what is likely to happen, you see this year 1 allocation of $10 million. So part of what we have responded back to U.S. Commerce on that is that year 1 would be the year that we would undertake getting our digital skills programming off the ground. You will very likely see an RFP be released by the broadband office for our digital skills work across the state. I can't give you an exact timeline on that. We think we would anticipate releasing, well, as of today, with U.S. Commerce's timelines, we would anticipate releasing an RFP Q3. I guess we're in Q3 now, but probably more towards the end of Q3, releasing an RFP for that work. And then working through an award, Q4 of this year or Q1 25. So, but it's our top priority. It's one of the agendas that we'll try to hit in our year 1 allocation, and we would go through an RFP process to seek responses for that. I hope that's helpful. If it's not, let me know and we can talk more about it. Okay. Let's see. I do want to bring up, I don't think I've done this yet. It all runs together some days. I want to go back to, I don't recall if I did this earlier in the show. ArkansasBeatConference.com is the website for the conference. We have the agenda. We have confirmed speakers to date. There's where you register. Again, starting next week, we'll release publicly kind of the panels that are confirmed. But for folks that have already confirmed, and you can go on the site and see who's going to be on the stage talking about things so far. And so if that's of interest to you, not only good information, but also where you would register for the conference. Let's go back to the chat box. Okay, it's helpful. You're welcome, Akila. And I think Todd is the only one with a hand up at the moment, probably from his inquiry earlier. So we'll give it just another minute or two with today's call.
Yeah, it's up from earlier, but it's not going down.
No worries. No worries.
You can just oh, okay, never mind.
You got it.
There it goes.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're in part of the rural that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, understood, Todd. Understood. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. It was a good call. Good information. You got a sneak peek at sort of what we talk about with our providers and ISPs each week. Again, our next call will be in 2 weeks on, I think it was the 21st of June. Yeah, 2 weeks from today. And we will see you next time. Thank you.